So you know how it's the offseason? Because we're about to do Bracketology March Madness style with head coaches.
Has it come to this point?
Indeed it has.
Yes.
All right, so here are my top 8 rankings we're about to reveal, here on Charlotte Sports Live. My number 1 overall seed for the coaching search is Steve Wilks. He's been in the position. He's the man for the job until he isn't the man of the job as the interim head coach. Mike Kafka, the 8th seed. And the 4-5 matchup, Sean Payton, needs no introduction. Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. 3-6 is Shane Steichen and Ken Dorsey. Then very bottom, an interesting matchup. I love how we're talking about this like it's March Madness. Frank Reich and Jim Caldwell. Watch out when those two meet in the backcourt. No surprise, Steve Wilks, he beats Mike Kafka. Mike Kafka he doesn't have any experience to be the head coach of this team. He's got 1 year under his belt as the offensive coordinator for the New York Giants. He's a Northwestern legend, yes, but he's got to have more experience.
I love what he did with the Giants this season, but again, Wilks is number 1 for a reason. He took a team that was on the verge of collapsing to really the brink of the playoffs. You can't ignore that.
Yeah, I love what Wilks did, obviously. And Kafka also, was it him or was it Brian Dable?
You make that debate,
let's not find out on our watch who that really was. In the 4-5 matchup, I actually have Kellen Moore beating Sean Payton because Sean Payton is by far the most qualified coach, has the most success in the NFL on this screen. Having said that, I am not trading away my number 9 overall pick and maybe another one in the future and two second rounders and $8 or $9 million. It ain't happening.
You see, that number 4 seed, that is my number 1. He's the guy that if I were running the Panthers, I'd have picked him. I think he's a winner. I think you risk it with him. And I think you have faith in the fact that he can build the roster the way he wants it.
You can't build the roster. You just trade away all your assets to get the man that you wanted to coach.
He's a smart man.
Shane Steichen, he beats Ken Dorsey. I think Shane, he's got 13 years in the NFL. He's been around. That was the one thing with Matt Rule. He wasn't in the NFL for a long period of time. He had one year in the league. Yep. Ken Dorsey, I want to see a little bit more from him. Can he do what he did last year under Brian Dable when he was in Buffalo? I like Shane a lot. He's got the experience 2 years as an OC as well.
I have no problems absolutely with this pick. It's Steichen.
All right, 2-7. This is my interesting matchup, Mike, because Frank Reich has done it all. He's seen it all. He's been at the peak. He's been the OC of a Super Bowl winning team. He's been the OC of another team with the Chargers, and he's been a head coach with the Indianapolis Colts. Jim Caldwell, also a good coach. Got ran out of Detroit on bad terms. Shouldn't have, but Frank has been around the game more recently.
This is like when the bracket committee, when they do those matchups that deliberately are designed to mess with you. I agree here. Caldwell's a great coach. I think he was done wrong by Detroit. But Reich, I mean, five quarterbacks in 5 years in Indianapolis. He's a really good coach. He's got to win that matchup.
All right, so now we have a 1-5 matchup, and it's still Steve Wilks for me. He owns that locker room. He commands the respect in that locker room. That is the number 1 job of an NFL head coach. It's not to call plays. It's not to scheme things. It's to make sure that you can get your message across and the team still buys in, week out, year after year.
What he's not saying is that the deciding factor was the Steve Smith tweet here. That got him over the edge.
I assure you it was not. And then Frank Reich, Shane Steichen. Reich and Wilks, to me, I mean, it's 1 and 2, but it's 1A, 1B. Because, again, Frank has done it and seen it all. And when you see my championship, it's going to be Reich and Wilks. It's because these guys have the experience. They have head coaching experience, number 1.
So you have a contrast in styles here. You have offense and defense. And really, that's been the theme of this entire coaching search for the Panthers. What do they want more? They know they're getting defense with Wilks. They know they're getting offense with Reich.
In a dream world, you hire Steve Wilks as your head coach, and then you pay Frank Reich a whole lot of money to be your OC. The problem with that is how long does that last? Like, how long does Frank want to be an OC and not be a head coach? So once he leaves, you're going to play the revolving door game of your OC. We saw it happen in the Falcons. When Kyle Shanahan left, that team became a hot mess, and the 49ers instantly became schematically advantaged compared to the rest of the NFL. So I think that the Panthers are going to end up hiring Frank Reich to be their next head coach because he's an offensive mind.
But you really think, and this is where I think they're going to go with Wilks, you really think they're going to go against the whole locker room?
Yeah, I think that Frank Reich, having been an NFL quarterback, having been a head coach before, having taken a team to the Super Bowl and won as an OC in Philadelphia and an OC year before that, he's got all the experience. He has the chutzpah, if you will, to command that locker room. So I think Frank Reich will end up being your next head coach with the Carolina Panthers.